Greetings, fellow mathematicians. We're going to take a look at a really simple integration by parts problem so that way you can understand how this method works. Now let's start with the integration by parts formula, which is the integral of u dv equals uv minus the integral of v du. Now for integration by parts, you make two choices. You make a choice for u and you make a choice for dv. You differentiate to get du, and dv, you integrate that or find an antiderivative to get v. Now there's some tips here for how to make your choice for u and dv, and the most important one, which we'll point out for this problem, is you want to choose u so that the differential or derivative du is simpler. So if we look at our possible choices here, if we pick u as x, the derivative of x is 1, and that is simpler. So let's try u as x, and that means dv will be everything else, e to the x times dx. All right, so if you differentiate u equals x, you'll get du coming out to 1 dx, which we'll just write as dx. And if we integrate e to the x, find an antiderivative, we just get e to the x. So v is e to the x. It's worth pointing out here that you actually don't need to include an integration constant plus c here, even though you're finding an antiderivative. We're going to include that at the end. All right, so from here, we just need to plug all this into our integration by parts formula. We get u times v, so x times e to the x. And then we have minus the integral of v du, so the integral of e to the x times dx. All right, if we check all three of our tips, the first one is satisfied. The derivative of x is 1. That's simpler. All right, second tip, dv should be easy to integrate, and e to the x, that's very easy to find an antiderivative. E to the x is its own derivative and antiderivative. And the third tip here, which is also really important, is the integral that you have, the integral of v du, at the end here, that should be simpler than the original integral. And if you take a look at your original integral, the integral of x times e to the x, this one is definitely simpler because there's no factor of x. We're just integrating e to the x. So all three of our tips seem to be satisfied here, and we can just finish by finding this antiderivative, which is e to the x. So we get as our final answer x times e to the x, and now minus that antiderivative minus e to the x. And we put the plus c at the end. And that is it for our first and very simple integration by parts problem. All right, we're taking our time with this one, again, so that way you can understand how this method works. Notice, again, we made a choice for u and a choice for dv. And for most problems, if you follow those three tips, you can get through it for an integration by parts problem. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, support the channel, like and subscribe.